Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jason White. This is my channel, Jason's Weird Reads. Thank you for joining me. I did have a topic video I wanted to discuss, but today I'm feeling kind of, I don't know, foggy brained. We're nearing the last bit of my vacation, and I've been eating way too much junk food. I need to stop and get back on the healthy. And so yeah, I'm just a little bit foggy brained. I don't know if I have the mental capacity to really go into something deep. So I might save it for tomorrow if I'm feeling better. But while I was camping, we did the same thing as last year. I didn't get as many books. In fact, I got a lot less, but I didn't have any intentions of going to the used stores to buy a lot of books. I in fact didn't want to buy any books, but I did manage to, of course, buy a couple of books. And I also went to my local chapters, and both me and my wife, we got some books from all places. I don't know what the exact count is, but there's a few here. First up, I saw Dane Cobain over at Dane Reads review this book, and I was really impressed with the review. And this is something I've been wanting to get into for a while now. It's Terry Pratchett and Feet of Clay. He said this would be a pretty decent place to start reading Discworld books, and I believe it's the third book in the Guards sub-series within the Discworld series. And if I remember, I'm going to put a link just in the comments there, because I think his review of this book, I mean, he's read it quite a few times, so he really knows this book, and he really described it well. It really hooked me, and this is definitely a booktube buy, but I've been wanting to get into this series, and I have some other books of his. I just don't know where to start, and if it was going to take all the way to Christmas, I was going to start with Hogfather, but I think this is probably a good place to start before then. And it looks a lot of fun. And speaking of series, I also got book number 9, paperback version of The Wheel of Time. Now I got this because, well, I don't have it yet, and I do want some of the paperbacks, and also I want all the hardcovers, and this was very cheap. It's like $5, $4 or $5, and it's in good shape. The spine, as these thick books usually, they get pretty messed up. But overall, the shape of this thing is really good, and it also has. I don't think they come this way anymore because these covers tended to fall off. But the older covers, they used to have the map in color on the inside there. And that's really awesome, so long as the cover stays intact. Also, the Terry Pratchett, this is kind of out of order. The Terry Pratchett I got at Chapters, and one more book I got at Chapters. All the other books I got at used bookstores. So we also got Dune by Frank Herbert. There's been a lot of talk about Dune lately, and for good reason. One, it's a good book. I don't think I loved it as much as some people do. Some people go as far as saying it's like the best thing ever. It's like the best science fiction book ever written. I don't think so. But I want to reread it again. And I thought I had this book somewhere, and I might in storage, but I don't remember. So I bought this copy because it's different from the copy I believe I own. It's one of those very soft books. It feels really good in your hands. You can hold it and it'll stay open on its own. You don't have to force it open. It's just a beautiful book. And the print is kind of small, but there's also a lot of spaces between the lines. So it'd be pretty easy to read. And so I'm going to reread that again, especially if there's there's going to be any Dunuary this coming year, as there has been the last couple of years. This book is really beaten up, but I've seen much worse. When I saw this, I put it back on the shelf. I'm like, I'm not going to buy it because I don't need it. I don't need it. I have too many books. And then I ended up getting it anyway because it just looks awesome. Whalen, he's the author of Monastery, I guess. It says at the bottom, Out of the Night. I just absolutely love that cover. That hand coming out of the grave. It's so, I don't know, Romero-esque. I just fell in love with the cover, honestly, and I read the back, and it sounds really cool too. I'm going to read some of it, if not all of it, here. The strangers came under the cover of darkness and camped high on the hill just west of town. Then the deaths began. Horrible, savage, beyond comprehension. Every night for 5 nights. When 2 young boys disappeared, the enraged townsfolk of Ravenna swept up the cemetery hill, a dark, vengeful mass, knowing neither pity nor remorse, only the terrible need to shed blood for blood. In their wake, they left 6 grim shadows hanging from a gnarled oak tree. A century later, the cemetery still stands atop the hill. The mortuary is presided over by the Horror Cove twins, wizened old men who rarely see the light of day. And death has returned to Ravenna, California. A series of grotesque murders committed at night has the town in the grip of terror. Only one man, famed archaeologist Martin Larchmont, suspects the truth. His convictions are looked upon as the ravings of a crazy old man. Yet as the murders continue, only Larchmont can save the town. He joins forces with Sheriff Henry Sutton, a once non-believer, now driven by his own desire for revenge. Together they must fight against the consuming evil that threatens to engulf them all. That just sounds very 80s, and it's from, I think, 1990. It's from 1990, and it's published by Pocket Books. Remember them? I think they're still around, but they don't do horror anymore. There you go. Alright. So, I'm hoping to read that. I just couldn't resist. Also at the used bookstore, I found this. I don't have it yet. Well, I didn't have it until now. It's Black Wings Cthulhu 2. Black Wings of Cthulhu 2. It's 18 Tales of Lovecraftian horror. Edited by S.T. Joshi. And that's that here. This is a series that S.T. Joshi was doing, and I've read some of them. He usually edits some really great work. I just want to read you the table of contents. There's stories by John Shirley, Tom Fletcher, Caitlin R. Kiernan, which if you watch this channel much, you know she's a favorite of mine, Jonathan Thomas, Nick Mamatis, Richard Gavin, Melanie Tem, the late Melanie Tem, John Langan, Jason E. Eckhart, Don Webb, Daryl Schweitzer, Nicholas Royal, Steve Raznick-Tem, Brian Evenson, Rick Dakin, Donald Tyson, Jason V. Brock, and Chet Williamson. It's a lot of really great authors in here, and I've been sort of in a Lovecraftian mood lately, so hopefully I'll be able to get to this very shortly. Speaking of Wheel of Time, I found a hardcover, and it seems like I have no issues about buying beat-up copies for my hardcover collection. Maybe that'll change one day, but I got this for $2, and I couldn't resist because overall it's in decent shape, very decent shape. But the front cover, the flap is very beaten up. You can tell that whoever read it probably brought the cover flap around with the dust jacket around with them. And it's Knife of Dreams, which I believe is book 11. It's the last one that Robert Jordan wrote before he passed away. And the back cover here has a tear right there. I think I can just fix that up with some tape or something. And just overall, the front cover looks pretty beaten up. There's just like a bunch of bend lines and whatnot. But when you take the dust jacket off, there's a bit of a break here. I didn't see that, but like I said, I spent $2 on it. I can get rid of it later. The book itself, though, it's I did flip through it to see if the pages are intact. There's no bends in the pages, no pages falling out, and that's all that's really important in case I want to switch between the book and the audio. So, you know, not a bad find. I might not hold on to this forever. Might replace it down the road with something in better shape. And also, it's a first edition too, which is not easy to find. Maybe these later ones, but certainly not the earlier ones, but this is a later one. And yeah, first edition. So not a terrible find for $2. And last but not least, I've talked about this on that vlog. I don't know if you guys are ever going to see, because I haven't started editing it yet, and I don't know if there's enough there to edit. You know, when you take these things, you're like, I'm going to do a vlog, and you really got to keep focused and make it a thing, and I didn't do that. But I did get some shots of some things, so maybe I'll just put out something. Anyways, also, at the very beginning of the camping trip, we went to Chapters, as I said earlier, and I also got this, The Black Prism, by Brent Weeks, and I read the first chapter while on the beach, and I enjoyed it. It was interesting. I really like the idea behind this fantasy book, because there's muskets and you know, things that we had only like a couple hundred years ago, before everything really took off and technology blew up in our faces. So I've heard some negative things about this series, about the writing. The writing itself seems fine, but apparently Brent Weeks, he comes across, or at least his characters are very sexist, and that might pull me out. It's one thing about Robert Jordan, actually. I remember saying that Robert Jordan isn't sexist, and I do believe he was a feminist for his time, but he does a lot of the mistakes that people complain about today. And one of them is he's always drawing attention to women's breasts. And I hear that Brent Weeks is very bad for that too. I don't know. We will find out. There was none of that in the first chapter, but there were no women in the first chapter, so who knows. And also, I think there's also some body shaming going on with the main character, one of the main characters, who's overweight. So we'll see if I like that. I had like a very strong urge to read it. That's since gone away, not because of the negative reviews. I went into it reading that first chapter knowing about those things. It's just that there's so many things to read. All right, so that's my little vacation book haul. Thank you for watching, and if you want more dark fiction related book discussions, then please like, subscribe, and comment, and I will keep being creative, and I'll catch you again in the next bookish video.